Welcome to the Single Parent Podcast, where we not only come together to discuss the ups and downs, ins and outs of single parenthood, but how we could support one another along the way in order to develop and maintain healthy relationships. Welcome again. I'm your host, Natalie. Thank you for tuning in for another episode. This episode, I wanted to, do something a little different. If anybody knows me, you know that I used to be a job coach for about 10 years in the nonprofit sector and corporate sector. And I really felt like I helped a lot of people. A lot of people that follow me are past clients that I've helped in some way, whether it's help them find a job, keep a job, get a better job, get a training, make a connection that will help them grow in some way, mainly professionally. And recently I was going through my own job search process again. And I was just like, you know what? Let me put y'all people on to game. So, if you're, looking for a job, if you know somebody who's looking for a job, if you just kind of want to chime in the conversation around, what job searching looks like nowadays, tune in. This is for you. So, job seekers, let me put y'all on to game. This is just basically a blueprint of how I look for a job as an actual job coach. Even though I have a lot of years of experience, that doesn't mean that I haven't had any obstacles. I haven't had any ups and downs. I mean, even just the very reason of how I even became a job coach was because of the fact that I really wanted to help the people around me get a job. This was like after the recession. I had just had Sean. This was back in like 2007. I just come off of maternity leave, and I started working at the Bronx Workforce Center as like an assistant to the director. And in that role, while, I think some people view it as, oh, you're just a secretary, I learned so much. I positioned myself to really figure out what was going on and what were people doing. And I knew that in the workforce realm, there was, education, which was training, vouchers, things of that nature. And then there was an actual, department where they would help people find jobs. And I found both really interesting and very beneficial to people, including myself. But, again, the people that I knew had children, they had bills to pay, they had so much debt. And so I really, when my director at the time said to me, listen, like, I see so much potential in you, like, where do you see yourself going into venturing into? Was it, the training vouchers, or do you kind of want to, go into what they called account management? So I really wanted to make some more money. And I said, if I had to pick, unfortunately, education and making more money at that time, I needed to make more money. I was a single mom. I had 2 kids, one, obviously, like I said, a newborn at this time. And it was really important that I was able to sustain us financially on my own. So that was the route I chose. Um, you know, it's crazy because it's not like I chose getting into the recruitment field or job search field. I kind of fell into it. If you want to go all the way back, I kind of fit like the mold of a normal statistic in the hood, right? Young girl, dropped out of high school, got a GED, got pregnant before the age of 18, was a single mom. At one point, one of my children's dad was incarcerated. So I fell under all the statistics, but I knew that I wanted to take control, even regardless of those obstacles that I faced, right? So again, just come off maternity leave. I'm at the Bronx Workforce Center. I'm like, you know what? I want to learn how to develop job orders. Job orders are where me as a job coach, I start working with this company. My first job order ever, I was working with Dwayne Reed, and my mentor at the time put me onto it. Once I said I want to be account management, I want to learn how to get jobs for people, I immediately started training, with my mentor at that time. And even he told me, like, listen, It's nothing to it. You know how to talk to people. You're a people person. But what he didn't know was, again, I just really had that passion to help people, help my people that were struggling, whether it was, a lot of my people had obstacles such as criminal records. I mean, at that time, it was so hard to place someone who had a criminal background because there was so much misconception. There was so much negative thinking around people who had criminal backgrounds, not thinking that, there are actually some really great people who unfortunately just have a criminal background. And you don't know people's personal situations. You don't know why they land in situations that they do. And who's to say that they are not worthy of another opportunity to better or change themselves in some way? So unfortunately, at that time, they had criminal records. They were unable to pass drug tests. People had lack of education. Again, I was able to get my GED, but unfortunately I wasn't, able to get a degree at that time, which most of my peers were coming back from college. They had bachelor's degrees. So I'm competing with those people. Yeah, I could speak well, yeah, I could present myself well. Yeah, I was professional for the most part of what people saw, right? Because I still had my struggles, I'm from the hood. So, it was hard to be in the Workforce One Center and just have clients like curse me out. And because, I had to understand that these were people that were deeply disturbed. These were people that were just like myself, going through shit. But unfortunately, they probably didn't have the resources clearly to get the help that they needed, right? I knew people who were jumping around from job to job, and what people don't understand is that employers see that, and that's a problem for them. Doesn't mean that speaks to the person that you are, but just knowing that they're looking at that, you should just be mindful of that. People who have various jobs in different fields. There's people that, I'll take a job doing anything. Well, that's good because, money wise, you would obviously, you know, go after the best. But as an employer, right, as the companies that are trying to hire you, that doesn't look good to them, because what that says is you're not making up your mind. You don't know what you want to do. You might not be committed to them. So language barriers, people who didn't speak English, people who came from other countries, but they worked hard as hell. Again, it was hard to help them find jobs. And, again, just like my friends, I had my own barriers. So I pretty much started like as an admin from the time I was 15. And by the time I got to the Bronx Workforce One Center, I already had, a good amount of years of secretarial experience under my belt. So at that time, I kind of wanted to level up, do something different. Started working in account management, going out into the field and getting these job orders, for my friends. And from there, it landed me in the Brooklyn Workforce One Center, where I had such a great, I think, experience working with such a great team, a sales team, business development team, whatever you want to call it, but that's what we did. Learned so much. Went through some stuff too, as you do in any job. But I took everything and I was able to apply it to all of my opportunities moving forward. From there, I then started working for nonprofits, because after making so much money in the Brooklyn Workforce Center, or placing so much people while I was in the Workforce One Center in Brooklyn, I was like, I like it. Don't get me wrong. Like, because what people don't understand is what I do as a job coach, like I could be charging you mad money, because people who go for CEO, executive type of positions, they pay bread to people like me to help them find a job. So let me just put that out there for all the people that I worked with in those nonprofits like Jobs Plus and Union Settlement Career Academy. Yes, it was a free program to you, but I was getting paid for it, because if I wasn't, I'm not doing it for free. So, but I had such a great experience. I mean, anyone who knows me, when I was working in Jobs Plus or Union Settlement Career, definitely Jobs Plus, I was a girl that put everybody on to the first quality maintenance jobs. Yes, those maintenance jobs that everybody was running around getting back between 2013 and like 2017. Yeah, that was me. I was the one putting them on. This was a job order that I had gotten, started developing when I was working in Brooklyn. And myself and the hiring manager had a really great rapport. I would know when to send candidates, when they were, interviewing, who they needed, what shifts they needed. And for the most part, this was a job that I was able to get a lot of people that I grew up with, Jefferson Houses was the projects that we served in Jobs Plus. And, I grew up in Jefferson Houses. So to me, it was really important because I was able to really put some of my people on that I knew that really just needed an in. You just needed, you know what I'm saying, an opportunity to be able to bank on it. And I'm glad that I was able to help. Now, for some people, a child, oh, listen, some people you can't help, but for the most part, met a lot of great clients, developed a lot of great, connections with people, helped a lot of people in some way. And I'm so glad that I did, because I only did what people had done for me, right? In Career Academy, I mainly worked with young people, 17 to 24, and a lot of them didn't have a lot of experience. So I was able to make a connection with Metropolitan Hospital, where I helped them get interns, right? So I think these interns, but they were paid through our internship, but I was able to place them in Metropolitan. Metropolitan didn't have to pay them. So that's kind of how those contracts work. I was able to, get an opportunity like that to clients of Washington Houses in East Harlem, because again, for me, the passion was about helping people that I knew, helping people that I grew up with. I used to go to PS 109, the elementary school, before it was turned into that lovely art studio / loft apartments. I don't know what that is on 98th between 2nd and 3rd, but that was my elementary school when I was growing up, before it got demolished and turned into, this housing. So these are people that I grew up with and that I knew just kind of needed an extra resource to help them get where they wanted to go. So tips for your job search journey. So just like I'm going on my own job search journey, this is a guide that I would give anybody, right? Including myself. So number one, you want to create your own networking group, right? Reach out to people that you know. Don't be afraid to speak up and say, hey, I'm looking for work. Or, do you know of anything? And don't just say to somebody, do you know of a job? Try to be specific. Do you know of these types of jobs, whether it's maintenance, security, food worker, retail? Be specific in the jobs that you're interested in. That will help them be able to think a little bit faster, because people have their own lives. You know what I mean? The more specific you are and direct you are in what you want, the more the universe is going to give that to you, and at a faster pace. Make a plan. Have a focus in your plan. So again, you don't really just want to throw random applications or go to random interviews. You really want to have a focus, like figure out, what type of jobs you want to go for and be consistent. So definitely, I'll give you an example. I'll make a plan and say, like, every Sunday night or every Monday morning, I'm going to take that time, depending if I'm working. If I'm working, it might be a Sunday night, right? I'm going to take that time to develop my work search plan for the week. This is when I'm going to, whether I do the applications that night, whether I plan throughout the week to do applications, because I think you really shouldn't pick one day. I think you should pick at least 2 to 3 days out the week to do applications, or at least review the job boards to see what new applications are being put out there. Because if you're doing a lot of applications, then after a while, it's going to be the same applications over and over that you're going to see. So you may not do the applications as often. So again, you want to take one day in the beginning of the week to make your plan for the week, then develop at least 2 to 3 times throughout the week where you're going to either apply or at least monitor your sources of where you get your, where you apply, your sources for your jobs. Revisit your plan often. If it's not working, make tweaks to it. Make sure that you understand how you have to present yourself at an interview. Number one, it really depends on what type of interview you're going for. So I remember I was working with a retail company back in the days, and I won't say what it was, but it was a female shoe and accessory company. They have a lot of different stores throughout New York City. And she said to me, Natalie, I don't want to see nobody in no suit. And I got really thrown off, because up until that point, we used to drill, you got to have a suit. We even had, examples of this type of suit and this type of shirt and this type of skirt and this type of pants and this type of shoe. And she was like, because this is retail and we're looking for fashion. And it dawned on me, and then you have construction workers that they don't even probably have an interview. They just want you to show up with your work gear and ready to work. So I had to learn that I can't prepare everybody the same way. So you can't prepare yourself the same way for every single job. You got to know what's expected of you, okay? And present yourself that way, whether you need to get a haircut, whether you do need to get a suit. I would say if you want to be on the safe side, you're not sure how to dress, a simple button down polo shirt will do fine, whether you're male or female, and a simple bottom skirt or pants will do. You don't need to think long and hard about it. You really don't want to make it a fashion show again, unless that's what it calls for. Most of the time it doesn't though. So you really want to keep things really, really simple. You know, in terms of the jewelry, the accessories, even the makeup, like I probably wouldn't do this red lip if I was going to an interview. You know what I mean? Let's see. Sorry. Also, you really want to research and know your market. Going back to what I said before, you want to have at least 2 to 3 jobs, really no more than 3 different jobs that you target, and these jobs that you target are ones that you either have experience in, or that you do well in, or that you're actually interested in, like maybe making a long-term job or career even out of. Those are the ones I want you to target. Anything more than that, it's too confusing. You have to really be intentional. Again, you get what you give. So the more effort you give into this job search process, because I'm going to be very honest with you, you should just take it like a job. Before we move forward though, can you please do me a favor? Subscribe, like, and share, and comment on any of my videos that you find helpful, interesting, or you've learned something on. And please, 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 please don't forget to subscribe. Thank you so much. Moving forward, so 2 to 3 jobs. I would say at least 1 or 2, especially if you have more experience in the game, 10 to 20 years, plus years, you want to keep it down to 1 or 2 jobs. The first step, I think everybody knows this, but if you don't, you got to create a great resume and cover letter. It really depends on what type of job you're going for, and how much experience you have, right? If you don't have a lot of experience, you're an entry-level person, a basic resume will do, because 9 times out of 10, you're probably just highlighting your skills and abilities as opposed to your experience. That's called entry-level. If you're more experienced, professional, then you really want to have a great resume and cover letter. You want to do a general one, especially for a job that you're not sure of, or you need to send something quickly and you just don't have anything. But then really, ideally, you really want to tailor your cover letters to the job and the company that you're going for, especially if it's one that you're really interested in the opportunity, and you want to stand out. If you need a resume and cover letter, hit your girl up, DM me. I have some, some I think decent prices. It'll be worth it. It's not gonna be cheap, but it's gonna be worth it. And it's not gonna be expensive either, though, I promise you. And check your email regularly, okay? Because I think that people send their resume out and it's like you're not checking your email regularly. So it's like, how can you be abreast of the correspondence? You got to be on top of it, right? How you apply for a job, right? Number one, you got to have a professional email. I can't tell you enough how much people have had crazy emails, and I'm sitting there like, yo. There was one time I remember back in like between 2008 2012 where people wasn't calling you if you had a crazy email. I'm just letting y'all know. And again, I think as people always, nobody should care about. Right, but you also got to put yourself in. I think what being a job coach allowed me to do was put myself in the other person's perspective, which was the company, because I had no choice, right? They were my client. Yes, the job seeker was my client, but my job seeker was more my client when I was working in the nonprofit sectors, because it was more of a case management approach at that time, because I really had to make sure the person went to go get interview clothing. I had to prep them before the interview several times, do their resume for them. When I was in workforce, kind of the employer was my client more so, and the candidate was kind of like, the product, so to speak. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah. Have a professional email. I urge you. Again, you could really be turning somebody off. just have a general one. If you're not sure what to do, just a mix of your name, right? Or initials. I would say definitely um, figure out how you want to apply, like after you figure out what jobs you're interested in, then and you do your research, then you're able to say, okay, this is how I apply. So for some jobs you may have to apply online, do an application. For some jobs they may have job fairs. For other jobs you may have an email where you could just send the email directly. You know, anytime you email anybody with your resume and cover letter, I don't care who it is, because you also don't know who they're forwarding it to and is going to see that message. Always, thank you, so and so. Attached, please find my resume and cover letter for your review. Period. Any assistance is appreciated. Thank you again. I can be reached at. Send. Always upload the attachment too, because I've missed out on doing something like that several times. So don't do what I've done. I think anybody could relate on that. You want to attend job fairs and events often. I know, like, I used to be so painfully shy when I was younger, especially when I was going for the secretary roles, and I had to realize, like, any job you deal with, you're gonna have to deal with people. It's best to get over that fear quickly, as opposed to, especially if you want to be an entrepreneur. People want to be an entrepreneur. People want to be, a social media personality. You have to learn to deal with people. So attending those job fairs helps you not only get out there, helps you practice on the interview. Even if you don't get the interview, it also helps you be out there, because an employer is most likely going to hire you if they like you and they get a good vibe from you face to face, as opposed to a nice resume or a reference, right? They see you, they connect with you, they're like, I like that person. I think that we could use them. Take advantage of that. Even if you mess up. I was talking to a fellow HR person and we were saying, like, say if you're nervous, oh my, but push through, right? Acknowledge your faults, but push through. The more you prepare, the less nervous you'll be. So therefore, the less, mess up you'll have during the interview. Prepare, prepare, prepare. That's my biggest advice. Also in the job fairs and when you go, even if you don't necessarily land a job per se, you don't know, like, what kind of connection you can make with somebody. They could refer you to somebody else. They could refer you to an educational opportunity, a training opportunity. Like, you just never know. Just put a good foot forward and just be prepared to be yourself, be positive, but also be intentional and professional. Utilize, like, online sites. I think Career Builder, Indeed is really great. But also, more so now, I think we've evolved into social media. You can definitely find a job on Facebook. Not only does Facebook post jobs, but they also have groups for jobs. I know there's a huge one for New York City job seekers. All you gotta do is Google, type it in. I'm sure it's gonna come up. And where I would say, start with wherever you are, like your local, right? Obviously, there's a lot of remote jobs now. So that could also, if you're interested in that, also utilize those as well that are mainly geared towards, online or remote jobs. LinkedIn, I cannot stress enough, especially if you really are looking for a career type of job, or you have, like, 10 plus years in the game, close to 10 plus years in the game. Utilize LinkedIn. If you, by the way, want any one-on-one, you can book a session with me, DM me. I could give you my prices. Basically, what we would do is we would go over these things. Like, I know I'm giving you just a vague overview of these different things, but for example, if you needed help with your resume and cover letter, if you needed help, formulating emails for job applications, you want me to send you emails for job applications, like, all you got to do is just hit me up. And, I'll do my best. We can figure something out, whether it's, a one-on-one session. We can do it together. We can do the applications together on a one-on-one session, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour, whatever, time you book. So LinkedIn, again, you want to make sure that you have a picture, number one, because I can't stress that enough. Number two, make sure it's a professional picture and a most updated picture of yourself, and really represents who you are, because you want it to be genuine and true to who you are. Even though you're networking with people mostly on there, like, people want to see who they're networking with, like, just like anybody else would. So keep that in mind. Not saying that you have to have a picture to make connections, but if you do, you're just putting yourself at a more advantage. Be creative and be bold. I mean, I've seen people's LinkedIn profiles or Facebook profiles or whatever you're using to find a job just describe themselves so well that it made you really want to reach out to that person to see what type of job. Like, you want to definitely be yourself. Don't be afraid to represent who you really are. Join those groups on social media, like I said, such as the job groups. LinkedIn has really great groups, by the way, especially they're sector based. So, like, for example, I'm an HR person, I would connect with an HR group. If I'm a food service, hospitality, security, I would join those groups because I promise you, when those jobs come up, that's where you're going to find them. Utilizing job search programs. So just like the job search programs that I mentioned before, for Workforce One, Jobs Plus, Union Settlement, these are all great programs that have been around for a really long time, if not a really good amount of time, and have really helped people find jobs. The library is a really great tool. They often have job fairs. And research your local community organizations. A lot of times, even the smaller community organizations have job fairs as well. Use recruiters like me. Again, there are free job coaches at these programs. Like I said, that's where I was before. Or if you have money and you're able to pay for somebody like me, again, I'm way more affordable than than if you got somebody at a staffing agency on Wall Street, which I also worked at a staffing agency in Wall Street, and I'm telling you, you get paid bread as a staffing agency recruiter. So listen, my prices ain't that bad at all when you compare them. But you can also utilize somebody like me, just because I've been doing it for so long. So for me, it's really secondhand, and I've met with so many employers. I mean, one of the things I enjoyed about job coaching, especially when I first got in it, was being able to pick the brain of the employer, because I was able to say, like, for example, at that time the security companies didn't want, people with visible tattoos, or they didn't want people with piercings, or certain looks. And I had to put my people on, like, listen, if you're gonna get that tattoo, I mean, if this is the field you want to go in, you got to be mindful of that. Again, we don't need to conform. Younger generation, pipe down. Y'all don't need to conform. I'm just saying. I'm giving an example of just simply that, if you want to get into a field, just, again, research and know what it takes to get in there. That's all. How do you prepare for your job interview? Like I said, you want to make sure you're presentable physically. You know what type of interview attire you need to wear. You make sure you get there on time. You make sure you're researching the distance ahead of time. You know that you are researching the company's website. You're looking up the about us, the mission statements, because anything in that I'll give you an example. I was researching a job that I was interested in. I went on the website, and one of the missions was that they were really involved in helping children. And I forgot in what aspect, but at the time I included that, you know what I mean? Like, in my statement of why I was interested in working for them. And it wasn't a lie, because it really is something I'm passionate about, and people do know that. So when you take the time to research the company ahead of time, ahead of the interview especially, you're able to really connect with them, right? And bring up things in the conversation, because an interview should really just be a conversation that will help you land that job, will help them see that, oh, this person is a good fit for us, right? So making sure you get enough sleep, you're eating in the morning, you have enough energy, and you just calm. Like, in the morning, once you've done your homework the nights prior to the interview, I suggest that morning when you get up, you just relax. Just trust that everything you did to prepare, you're going to be good during that interview. And know that even if you don't get it, it's okay. It doesn't make or break you, because that interview should be more about if you think that company is the right fit for you than they think you're the right fit for them. And I'm going to tell you, I think that we place too much power in the hands of companies and making them feel like, oh my God, I hope they like me. And, I hope, why do you want to work for us? And what do you know about? Like, okay, listen, the reality is that None of us are going to be at a company for the rest of our lives. Let's make the best of it though, right? So have confidence when you're going in that interview. Be calm. Trust what you've done to prepare. While you're there, again, be yourself. And be honest. If you're nervous, it's okay to say, I'm so sorry, I'm a little nervous. But again, do things to get yourself together. Make sure, again, that you're in the right spirits to do that interview as best as you can. There's going to be things. I literally had an incident happen to me right before I went into an interview that I thought was really important. And you know what? At the end of the day, I said to myself, I'm not going to blame it on that. I'm going to realize that lifes. And if the company likes me and I'm meant to work for them, they're going to see that regardless, right? Regardless if I bomb or not, they're going to want me. So I just go in knowing that I did the best that I can and keep moving from there. Don't ever bank on one interview. Keep interview until you get the opportunity that you're looking for. After the interview, following up is key. So you definitely want to make it your business to follow up. You don't want to be a stalker necessarily, but you want to follow up at least one good time, right? But like I said, in my personal opinion, I'll follow up with you one good time. After that, I'm moving on, because if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And I'm not chasing and begging for no job. And, I don't think anybody should be made to feel that way, especially when, you know that a job should be beneficial to both the employer and the job seeker, which will eventually maybe become the employee. And I don't think that any one position has the most power. I think that we go into these employment agreements doing the best we can on both sides. When the journeys have ended and paths have ended, it's hopefully, you split amicably and cordially and professionally, where you can maintain the, connection in the future. And to me, that's kind of, how it should go. Before I hop off, let me just give you my advice to wrap things up. Number one, know your shortcomings and learn to work around them. I'm very honest in my journey. When I say things like I dropped out of high school or I didn't have a degree, I think that's very important, because people downplay, a lot, or they make people feel like, oh, if you just get a degree, and I learned that no, like, I realized I actually didn't really have it harder than anybody else that did have a degree. What it is was that I learned to, educate myself about just simply how to find a job, especially in New York City for some reason. New York City is very competitive. And what people don't realize is, as much as there are opportunities out there, there are so many obstacles. And I've named quite a few of them, right? We all struggle with at least one obstacle from time to time. It could be homelessness. Again, it could be lack of education. It could be lack of mental health. Because there were some times where, just mentally I wasn't able to get a job because I was just going through a lot. And until I was able to, get that part of my life stabilized, I wasn't able to secure a job. Picking the right opportunity is so important. Don't just seek a job for the money, but the opportunity that you will gain from it. Because I promise you, if you're going to chase the money all the time and not see the opportunity that you could get, money is nice, but it comes and goes, right? Opportunities and connections are what really last a lifetime. Stay ready so you ain't got to be ready. Because I'm telling you, keep your resume updated even after you get a job. Like, I remember I have this coworker and I love her to death. She just reminds me of taking care of me. She reminds me, she's one of the people that say, make sure you're constantly updating your resume. So for example, if I'm at a job, right? Let's say I'm at a job for like 2 years or a year. After the year, every year that I'm at my job, I should be updating my resume with the new skills that I learned that year. You know why? Because we downplay a lot of our skills, and a lot of times we don't know how to articulate them, especially not on our resume. And I think what happens is, when it's time to update our resume, we are so bogged down with so many thoughts, and it's stressful to really focus in and make a list of our goals and our skills and our abilities. So if we do it in the moment, we A, won't forget when it's time, and B, we won't have to be scrambling for all this necessary and important information that should be on our resumes to reflect us. Because the thing about it is, I want everyone to realize, so your resume is what gets you the interview. The interviews will get you the job. And also, no one can get you a job. I remember having a lot of clients, oh, Miss Natalie, can you get me a job? No, I can't get you a job. Only you can get you a job. And that is how we work. We have to take ownership and accountability of our journey, especially our job search journey process, and understand that A, utilize many, many avenues and resources and people, and B, you have control over that. You don't have to take a job just because it's a job. Now, there's some people, or there's some times in life that you just need a job. And in that case, just take that job. But while you take that job, work on the better one, the one that you know you're going to like, that you're going to stay, that you're going to grow, that you're going to learn from, or that is going to be a stepping stone into your actual life's journey that you're trying to accomplish, right? Those are my advices, just to wrap things up. If anybody's interested, again, in a one-on-one, feel free to DM me. We could book some time with me. If you want to do a group session with me, I have some group sessions coming up. I'm going to start at an introductory price of $10. $10 per person. It'll be a session anywhere between 30 and 45 minutes to an hour, depending on how the session goes. We'll talk about job search, planning, things like that. If you have any job search questions, if you've been having a hard time with your job search, if you have any advice about people's job searches and what they should be doing and what we should be keeping our eyes on, let us know in the comments or the DMs. Thank you again for tuning in to another episode of the Single Parent Podcast, giving y'all job seekers some game. Yes. Again, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you all. Till next time, have a great day.